Thank you. My name is Mari Levitt, and I'm a candidate in the 28th Legislative District for position number 1. And I'd like to thank you all. Well, certainly thank the Lakewood Neighborhood Association for hosting this forum, and to all of you who care enough about these important issues to be here tonight. Let me start by saying I'm a mom of a 6 and 7 and 13-year-old that are still at home. We have several children that are older as well, but 2 daughters and 1 son. And so this issue is important from a mother's perspective as well, and so I appreciate you all being here. There are a few things I want to talk about. One, to those of you who testified tonight, the issue came up about the city of Lakewood and their lawsuit against adult family homes and losing in court, and why aren't you appealing? And as I look to the folks on the Lakewood City Council, and I think the decision not to appeal is a good one for the reason of not expending Lakewood funds and city resources for something that they may not win. And the Lakewood City Council, I think, has done a really good job, and Lakewood City representatives are really working hard to address these issues. And when it came down to the court decision, the judge said it's really the state legislators' responsibility and it's the governor's responsibility. So they did all that they could do, and they raised an issue in a court that they probably knew they were going to lose, to raise the attention and raise it to an issue that is resonating now, and so I think that that's important. I do agree with Senator Oban that it is a legislative issue, and there are several things that have been outlined of things to address that we could do, both short-term and both long-term. Short-term and long-term in terms of ensuring that the recommendations from the city, I think are good ones, and I would take one step further than that, but the recommendations in terms of ensuring that we are not allowing sexual offenders to be in our neighborhoods. As a mom, of a 6 and 7 and 13-year-olds, I understand that and have those concerns as well. I think that we also need to ensure that the legislature and take a look at fair share. Pierce County is a welcoming environment, and we're a welcoming community, and as a result we've had a lot of folks stay in this community that really should be disseminated outside of Pierce County and outside and back to the county of origin where they originated from, as it relates to where they started. And so providing incentive and really strong legislation to require other counties to build up and to build capacity that Pierce County unfortunately has built, that has led us to the situation that we are in, particularly in Lakewood and in Oak Brook. The other thing I would say is that we need to ensure that the adult family homes are serving those who need to be served. We need to serve our elders, and we need to serve those with developmental disabilities and make sure that they have quality care and get the care that they need. And in order to do that, they need to be able to serve those in communities that make sense. We don't need to serve violent sexual offenders who have a concern, for those families and neighborhoods. And so providing legislation that changes the zoning laws and changes opportunities of what adult family homes look like. There was a suggestion from the city, and I think it's a really good one, to take a look at a study that is a defined term, not a study that goes on in perpetuity, which often legislative studies do, but have a study that takes a look at what adult family homes should be and what they shouldn't be, and have a defined term and recommend solutions, working with stakeholders, working with community members, and working with municipalities to ensure that the input is provided so that there is a change in what adult family homes look like, and subject to whatever required laws are in place, that we can adapt those. And I think that that's an important opportunity from a legislative perspective to do that. I think the other thing we need to take a look at is how do we define adult family homes, and I think the recommendation from the city also was a good one of what an adult family home is and versus what an essential service facility looks like and where those are placed in. And the challenge has been that there's a disproportionate number in a congested area. and that many of you who were brave enough to testify tonight had concerns about. And so I think we need to work with city officials, particularly in Lakewood, and work with county officials and work with legislators to get those laws changed and to impact that, so that it's not just Lakewood. Even if we're disseminating to other counties, we also need to support those other counties and those other communities who also have a 6 and a 7 and a 13-year-old at home who have concerns as well. And how do we impact those communities so that those communities are safe as well as our communities are safe, and that our elders and our folks with developmental disabilities are also taken care of in the way and in the manner that they do. And so I think we need short-term and we need long-term solutions. Short-term, we need to ensure that we're not releasing folks who are dangerous, and the prosecutor I know has worked really hard to ensure that we're not releasing folks who are dangerous to our communities, and making sure that we've done the work that we need to do. But we also need to, and particularly in Pierce County, in the 28th legislative district, which is what we all care about on this dais, that we need to ensure that we're focusing on those short-term and long-term impacts that the city, I think, really outlined. They put together a legislative solution because they can't impact it. They have done everything that they know how to do. They have done the yeoman's work to advocate on your behalf, and they're at a crossroads. And so it's up to the legislature to do something about it. It's up to the legislature to propose those bills, but it's really up to the legislature to not propose the bills, but to actually act on those and have an impact on our communities. And so I hope to work with the stakeholders, and I hope to work with community members who are impacted by that as well. My husband and I own a small business here in Lakewood, and so we know those concerns, and my time is up. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Maya Espinoza. I'm a candidate here in the second position, so hoping to work alongside Dick Murray and Steve O'Ban. And I hope you can see me over this podium. I got to keep my heels on today, so hopefully that's okay. Maybe I'll stand to the side here. I'm a 15-year Lakewood resident, and I grew up near Oak Brook. So this issue hits very close to home to me. I don't have to imagine it, I've lived it. I may not have worked in the legislature before, but I've worked in the legislature as staff for the last few years. I was on the Governor's Commission for Hispanic Affairs, I was Senate Staff Communications at one point, and I'm the current executive director for a civic engagement nonprofit. So I have legislative experience and I know how to get the job done. I really appreciate you guys being out here today. I host a number of different candidate forums or community forums rather, and this is very, very well attended. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing with regard to this issue, but it shows that you're active in this, and I appreciate each of you spending your evening with us, so thank you. The first thing that I want to talk about is to recognize that your concerns are legitimate. I don't think that you get that acknowledgement enough, or maybe you get some glossed over reason why, yes, we're looking into it. Your concerns are legitimate, and the data is there that these offenders will offend again. This is unacceptable, and as a mother of 2 elementary school kids myself, and a tiny lady myself, this is not okay. We don't want this in our community, and I'm listening to you. So this is part of the reason why I'm running, actually. Your legislator's not listening to you. I will. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I've knocked on more than 15,000 doors listening to you. Some of us may be talking, but if you're not talking, or if you are talking rather, you're not listening. We don't need to beg for the bills to be heard, for our legislation to go through. We need to apply pressure until it hurts. As you're doing tonight, you're showing us exactly how concerning this is to you and how much this means to you. If you feel strongly about a ban on sexually violent predators being placed in adult family homes, you should make sure your representative feels the same way. What I will do, this is not a partisan issue, at least it shouldn't be, I don't think. I'm willing to go to bat for you, and we need to elect people that are courageous and willing to take a stand for you. I'll ensure that fair share program is enforced, but that we respect your concerns most importantly. If fair share is not panning out the way it's supposed to be as it is, we need to do something different or additional, and I'm there to do it. I'll fight to either mandate security if a separate facility is not the way to go. I'll work to enact legislation that prevents sexually violent predators from being placed within a certain radius around schools. This is common sense. We can make these basic adjustments, these basic fixes. And we hear a lot about legislation that was proposed, but I'm the person to carry it across the finish line. I've worked all four corners, Senate, House, and the governor's office. You apply pressure until you're hurt and until it works. We should require, at a very minimum, if we can't get a ban on the sexually violent predators being placed in adult family homes, we should at a minimum be requiring that notification be sent out in advance to families, to neighbors, and to the families of the people that live in the adult family homes. So if Nana's in the adult family home, I want to make sure that I'm notified in advance. I think these are some basic things that we can deliver on, but the point is to get something done, some kind of incremental progress. And you shouldn't have these glossed over answers, yeah, we need all hands on deck. BS. We need to solve it now, and I'm willing to fight for you if you give me that opportunity. I wanted to be very sure that I listened to you before inserting my own opinions. Obviously as a mother, obviously as someone who's been a victim before, this is concerning. This is something I'm passionate about and I want to fight for. But I want to make sure that we listen to the community. First and foremost, before I open my mouth, I'm going to listen to you. So thank you very much for being here tonight and for sharing your concerns with us. We're going to listen. Thank you.
Thank you to all the panel members for that.